for NASA. Dragon will deliver more than 7,300 pounds of research, supplies, and vehicle hardware to the International Space Station, including the first 2 of 6 new rollout solar arrays that, once delivered to the station, will help give it a power boost. To tell you more about that and why this mission is significant, we have a panel of experts for you. To my left here is Joe Montalbano, manager of NASA's International Space Station program. Next to him, Jennifer Buckley, deputy chief scientist, also of NASA's International Space Station program. Then we have Sarah Walker, director of SpaceX's Dragon Mission Management. And then we have Mark Berger, launch weather officer with Cape Canaveral's Space Force Station's 45th Weather Squadron. We will take your questions after opening remarks, so why don't we get that started with you, Joel?
Well, thank you, and welcome again to today's pre-launch press brief. It's already been a busy day on board the International Space Station. Our 2 Russian cosmonauts completed a 7+ hour spacewalk earlier today successfully, and we're excited and congratulate Roscosmos for that. After the launch of this mission, we have a busy June. We have EVA scheduled on June 16th and June 20th to support the deployment of the 2 new solar arrays. And towards the end of the month, we'll have the Northrop Grumman 15 mission unberth and depart space station. They will have been on board about 125 days. We also have a progress launch and docking scheduled for late June. Looking forward to this mission, we've done a number of reviews to make sure the team's ready to go. As stated earlier, we're planning to bring up and deliver approximately 4,300 pounds of pressurized cargo to the International Space Station. Pressurized cargo that supports the Science and Utilization Program, the Technology Development Program, as well as the commercial low Earth orbit activities that we do on board the International Space Station. In the trunk, we have 3,000 pounds, our 2 new solar arrays. And as said earlier, we're going to replace 6 of the 8 solar arrays on board the International Space Station, again with EVAs on June 16th and June 20th. Shane and Thomas will be performing those EVAs, so we're excited to get those out there. These new solar arrays will put us at a power generation equal to when we first flew arrays on board the International Space Station. So we're excited. These new arrays it's a rollout technology, so they come up in rolled up, think of like a Tootsie Roll, and they expand and then deploy. They expand to about 60 feet in length. And again, we're looking forward to have these, and they'll be set up right next to the current arrays. So the current arrays stay on board, and these new arrays will be offset about 10 degrees from the older arrays. Looking forward for this mission specifically, we have a launch time of 1:29 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. That sets us up for a docking early Saturday morning, about 5 a.m. Eastern Time, and that'll put us on the Node 2 Zenith port, so the port on the docking port that's on top of Space Station. And then this mission will return in early July with approximately 4,200 pounds of pressurized cargo. Let's see, looking forward in July, another busy month in July. And so in addition to this month, the Russians are launching a new module called the Multipurpose Laboratory Module, or MLM, to the International Space Station. That's scheduled to launch on July 15th with the docking on July 23rd. We'll also have a port relocation where we put the crew members in the Crew 2 Dragon, and we'll move the vehicle from the Node 2 forward port to the Node 2 Zenith port. And what that does is that opens up the forward port for the Boeing unmanned test mission scheduled for July 30th. So we're excited for that mission as well. Fast forward into August, you have a Northrop Grumman 16 mission, another SpaceX mission. So again, we continue to be extremely busy on board the International Space Station. You know, NASA's partnership with the commercial industry is changing the way we look at low Earth orbit. Because of what we've done with industry, we've been able to bring more people to the International Space Station. We've been able to bring more science to the International Space Station. And what we've done is we've been able to develop a low Earth orbit commercialization market. Now, we still have work to go, but it's been tremendous to have SpaceX on board with us, as well as all of the industry helping us across the globe to what we can do to develop low Earth orbit commercialization. So with that, in closing, just a huge thanks to everyone who had prepared this mission. Everybody's ready to go. A huge thanks to our SpaceX colleagues and everyone across the globe. Just outstanding. We're going to deliver more science. We're going to deliver more technology development hardware that we'll use for the lunar program. We're going to help, like I said, continue low Earth orbit commercialization. And cool thing, we're bringing 2 new solar arrays to the International Space Station. So with that, back to you, Megan.
Joel, thank you so much. All right, Jennifer.
Hi, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to share the science flying aboard our SpaceX launch tomorrow. Tomorrow, it was mentioned we're going to be launching around 7,300 pounds of cargo. 2,000 of that is going to be science in the pressurized capsule. That includes our samples, our experiments, as well as support hardware. When this Dragon returns, it's going to bring home 4,200 pounds of cargo, with the majority of that also being science. It will bring home samples from a wide variety of research, human research, physical sciences, tech demo, education, as well as biology. To date, we have done roughly 3,000 experiments on Space Station and served over 4,000 researchers. We produced over 2,000 publications and served greater than 100 countries globally. This particular flight is going to bring up 37 investigations, and that is going to be part of the complement of the hundreds that we do every year on ISS. Before we get into the specifics for this flight, we have a short video we'd like to show to highlight some of those projects. Experiments that you saw in the video, as well as other investigations flying on SpaceX 22. Joel talked a little bit about iROSA. So iROSA is actually technology that was developed coming out of a tech demo called ROSA in 2017. So this was one of our previous technology demonstrations that we flew on ISS. In the materials science category, we're going to be flying Superglass. That's a NASA and JAXA collaboration. It's going to be in the ELF, or our electrostatic levitation furnace. It's looking at supercooled metal alloys and their formation into glass. So that will help us develop a wide variety of technologies based on this very fundamental research. It's also a $300 billion industry globally. We have quite a few plant experiments flying on this mission. We have 4, actually. We have Apex 07, which is our advanced plant experiment. That one's going to be looking at RNA regulation in the roots and shoots of plants. We have a Plant Habitat 04, which is flying chili peppers for the first time. Chili peppers are one of our more difficult food crops to cultivate. They have a really long germination time. So this is also flying as somewhat of a demonstration to see how long our facilities can support these experiments. It's going to grow for 120 continuous days. We have TikTok, which is targeting improved cotton through on-orbit cultivation. This is one that has Earth benefit as well. This was a sustainability challenge that was issued to take a look at ways to improve cotton growth here on Earth. Cotton is a very water-intensive crop to grow. And so on Space Station, we obviously have very limited amounts of water. So our plant growth strategies are a little bit different up there. So we'll be taking a look at how those roots develop on Space Station, which could have benefits again here on Earth. We're flying Brick 24, so that's going to be an experiment, again, taking a look at how roots develop in space. And in addition to those plant biology experiments, we do have some other biology experiments that were featured in the video. Cell Science 04, which is water bears or tardigrades. Really fascinating organism that we call extremophiles. So they can survive in a variety of conditions, including extreme temperatures, extreme pressure, and we're going to be taking a look at how they adapt to that kind of stress in space flight to see which genes are turned on and off, to see what we can learn about that. We're also flying one of our organ on a chip experiments called tissue chip kidney cells, O2. So this is one of our collaborations between the ISS National Lab as well as the National Institutes of Health. So kidney stones are often formed by microcrystals in the kidney tubules. So this experiment uses cells to simulate a kidney on orbit in these tissue chips. And the microcrystals in space stay distributed within the fluid versus going to the bottom of the solution like you would have here on Earth. So again, the National Institutes of Health is interested in taking a look at this one and using microgravity as a way to simulate how those microcrystals form in cells like they would in the human body. As I mentioned, we have many more experiments that are flying on this mission. And unfortunately, we can't talk about them all, but if you would like to learn more about them, you can follow us at ISS Research. Thanks.
We could talk about it all, but we'd be here a while. All right, thank you, Jennifer. All right, Sarah, please.
Okay, thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. As Joel and Jennifer mentioned, we are less than 24 hours away from our 22nd cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. I personally can't believe it's been 22 of these cargo missions. I started at SpaceX about 10 years ago, the year before our first Dragon that we sent to berth with the International Space Station. So I feel like I blinked, and here we are talking about the 22nd one. And I love these press conferences, hearing about the critical science and important payloads that are on board. And even more exciting now that we get the privilege of transporting the very same crew up there that's doing this research. Just a couple months ago, the Crew 2 crew got on board, and now they're waiting to receive all this science and do it. So really exciting for us at SpaceX. And to that end, this is actually the 5th Dragon we've gotten to send to the orbiting laboratory in the last 12 months. So the team's been really busy. And Joel mentioned all the other teams across the world that are busy doing all kinds of things on the space station. And so no slowdown in sight. So thank you so much, NASA, for your continued trust and partnership with us. We couldn't be more proud of what we've accomplished together. Next slide. So tomorrow's launch opportunity, I think these times are already mentioned. We have an opportunity tomorrow, instantaneous launch window at 1:29 p.m. Eastern Time. If we have to delay for weather or any other reason, we have a backup opportunity at 1:03 p.m. Eastern Time the following day. The countdown and liftoff will look very similar to past missions, especially the most recent cargo mission, CRS-22, that we launched off of Launch Complex 39A at the end of last year. Really, the only notable difference for us is we're actually flying a new booster this mission. So this is the 17th mission that SpaceX has launched just in this front half of 2021 so far this year, and the first one that's on a new booster, introducing a new booster to the fleet. So the first time that we flew a booster for a second mission was March of 2017. And that was huge. That was huge for progress. But here we are just a few years later and flying a booster for a second, third, even 10th time. Last month we flew a 10th flight booster. Isn't the exception anymore, it's the baseline. And so we're actually surprised when we get to a mission like today's where we're flying a new booster. I think that's really neat. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what an enabler NASA has been in our efforts to pursue reuse. So after that first time that we flew a booster, a reflight booster, so a second flight booster, 9 months later, NASA had certified us to fly multiple missions on boosters for CRS missions, and we flew CRS-14 on a reused booster. So again, thank you so much to NASA for really partnering closely with us and helping us try these exciting new endeavors. I think the next slide I have for you is the timeline. This should look really familiar to everyone. We have a couple minutes of first stage flight, after which the 9 main engines cut off and first and second stages separate. First stage returns to Earth to be refurbished and used again for another mission, and second stage continues on to orbit with Dragon. It takes Dragon to its injection orbit. I think about 8.5 minutes into flight is when we've reached orbit, and second stage engine cuts off, that vacuum engine there. Second stage separates a few minutes later, and Dragon goes onward to space station. So we'll have an early morning docking about 5:13 a.m. on Saturday morning, Eastern time. And then lastly, I wanted to show you an amazing video. If you could cue that up. This is actually footage from CRS-21. So the last cargo mission that went to space station, this is what the ISS looks like from Dragon's eyes as it performs a series of maneuvers to gradually catch up, rendezvous, and eventually dock with the International Space Station. This is obviously sped up, but this is all happening while ISS and Dragon are both zooming around the Earth at over 17,000 miles an hour. So truly dynamic operation. And I also wanted to point out that that's another Dragon there you see in the bottom center. That is Crew 1. And you'll see a similar thing here on this mission, CRS-22, approaching with Crew 2 Dragon already on space station. So really just a testament to how the teams have worked together to meet the frequent ISS needs for crew and cargo. So one last thanks to NASA for your ongoing partnership. This is an exciting mission. Tomorrow is just one more example of a long history, and we're thankful for. Actually, I will say one last thing. I was actually the SpaceX mission manager for that tech demo of the rollout solar arrays on CRS-11. So this mission is really exciting to me personally too. We're excited to see the new solar arrays get up there. So thank you so much.
Sarah, thank you so much. All right, so now to Mark for our weather forecast.
All right, good afternoon. So it's Florida, it's summertime, and that means showers and storms. We take a look at the afternoon satellite shot again. We're kind of sandwiched between two different features here at the midday hour. We've got the front well to the north of us, which will be of little consequence for our weather. But then you see this little low circulating around Cuba, and eventually that has been throwing moisture out towards Florida, some of the deep tropical moisture responsible for the ongoing showers and storms that we've had to deal with. And I really don't expect much change for tomorrow, and we take a look at the actual forecast and how that all plays out here. Again, fairly light winds, although becoming a little breezy by the afternoon tomorrow, and temperatures in the mid-80s, so very typical of what we'd see in Florida. However, you see the POV, the probability of violation due to weather concerns, at 40%. Main issue would be a few of those showers that come off of the coast and head towards our launch facility. However, given that there's quite a lot of real estate between each one of those showers, I do think that there's still a better than average chance that we'll be able to thread the needle and get in a good launch opportunity for tomorrow. Should we not, if we have to back up to the next day on Friday, again, very similar kind of weather situation expected. Again, very similar winds and temperature, and still the POV is set at 40%. So again, same concerns with a few passing showers, but overall, let's look forward to a good launch.
Thank you. Our phone line, and we're going to try to get as many people as possible. So please ask one question and then also tell us which of our guests you'd like to answer that question. And then also please keep your questions related to this mission. Okay, the first question is from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press. Having some technical difficulties, so just give us a second here while we figure that out. A question from Irene Klotz. Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press again. Sorry, as we're trying to figure out the audio issues here. What sort of new capabilities will the ISS see with the increased power generation from the new solar arrays being launched?
That's a great question. You know, the new solar arrays will allow us to do a number of things. It allows us to, you know, over time, the solar arrays on board have degraded. You know, we celebrated 20 years of continuous human presence last year. And over time, just like any large home, you have to do upgrades and repairs. So the new solar arrays, like I said earlier, bring us back to a power generation that was the same as we had when we launched the older solar arrays. So it allows us to continue the science and research programs we have on board. We're also working with a company called Axiom Space to add a module to the International Space Station. And this allows us an opportunity to have enough power for that additional module. And again, the other international partners. So every international partner is continuing to maximize the use of the International Space Station. And these new arrays just give us that capability such that we can support all those activities.
And we now have a second question. This is for Sarah. There was no static fire done before this launch, which is a first for a new booster. Is that something that NASA had to sign off on, or is it up to SpaceX?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So you all know that SpaceX was founded on the philosophy to test early and test often and test like you fly. So we do that. And all these engines have been tested at the engine level, of full static fire at the engine level. And then we integrate these engines onto the stage, the first stage. And it's static fired again at the integrated stage level to do that system level test. That was done just a month or two at our McGregor test facility. So SpaceX and NASA worked together to determine that an additional static fire at the pad wasn't necessary this mission. But this is something we bypassed static fire at the pad over a dozen times recently. So not a first, perhaps the first CRS mission that we're doing this, but we certainly make sure that we do all the necessary tests to make sure that the vehicle is ready for its journey.
And we have another question from social, actually, a lot of social interest in this launch. What will be the next mission for this new first stage booster?
It's actually staying in the family for a little while. So right now it's allocated to the Crew 3 mission, the next crew mission coming up in the fall.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, another one from social. This one's for Joel. How much time will Node 2 forward be available for OFT2, and its schedule for OFT2 dependent on all Russian MLM?
And so there's really no dependence between the Node 2 forward and MLM. We like to make sure we don't have dynamic activities on back-to-back days, and we like a few days in between those. As far as duration, it'll be a short mission on the order of, say, 4 to 8 days. It could be a little longer if we need to set up the right phasing for landing, but it's a short mission.
And we now have Stephen Clark from Spaceflight Now. His question that he typed into us is, what is the exact time with seconds for Thursday? What are the launch opportunities beyond Thursday and Friday? You were expecting that question, Sarah.
Wrong. Sure. So to the second, it is 1:29 and 15 seconds. That's p.m. Eastern Time. And the backup is 1:03 and 33 seconds. there's a second question, I think.
Yeah, launch opportunities.
Yeah, so we will have the 3rd and the 4th. If we don't launch either of those opportunities, we'll stand down for a day and refresh a large amount of NASA cargo science samples, and then we have another 2 opportunities the following pair. So you stand down the 5th, 6th, and 7th would be the next opportunity.
Great. And a follow-up question from Stephen Clark. With the SiriusXM launch this weekend, could you do 2 launches in one day if necessary?
Yes, so we've definitely looked at all the various constraints that affect how close in time, even down to hours, that we could launch 2 missions. And I think we've come pretty close on previous missions to this. Right now, if we launch on the 3rd or the 4th, they won't be very close to one another. But certainly, if we go on the 6th, they will be within 24 hours.
All right, Sarah, you're up again. Have you had any conversations with the Crew 2 astronauts since they've arrived on station?
I hear they're happy and healthy, and you've put them to work. Joel, do you have any thoughts there?
We talk to the Crew 2 guys all the time. In fact, the last time I talked to the crew was just a couple of days ago, and they're doing great. They're excited to be on orbit. They're excited with the Crew 2 mission and everything they're doing. So we're looking forward to a long duration mission with these guys together. With 7 crew members on board, the team is really just knocking it out of the park. The utilization and research they're able to do on board, the commercialization efforts, the technology development for our lunar program. It's really a pleasure to watch these guys. They're excited for this mission. And in fact, they were asking when we talked, how's it going? Are you guys ready? And they're excited to see these 2 new solar arrays on board.
Okay, I think third time might be a charm. We have Marcia Dunn from the Associated Press on the line again. Marcia. Oh, my bad, guys. I do have one other question for Jennifer. You mentioned all these different science experiments. What would you say is something you're most looking forward to?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. That's okay. I'm really looking forward to the suite of plant experiments that we have going up on this flight. As I mentioned, we have 4 different ones, all on this one mission, which is a pretty high number for us to have at the same time. And so I think it's really interesting. We're going to have such a variety of plant species on board, all looking at different aspects. I look forward to seeing the data that comes out of that and some of the results.
Thank you. You answered that well. All right. Thank you to our guests for your time. Again, liftoff is scheduled for tomorrow, June 3rd at 1:29 p.m. Eastern Time. Launch coverage will begin 30 minutes prior at about 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we'll end about 20 minutes after that, but we will pick back coverage up again on Saturday, June 5th at 3:30 a.m. for docking to the space station around 5 a.m. So to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.